Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make the corner of a lined jacket or a lined coat. So I will show you two ways. This is the one that you see the most often. You notice the little top stitch here. It would be hand finished for haute couture. But here is the corner we will be doing. If you notice, you still have the pleat for the ease and the length of the jacket. And it's completely closed. So this is a real jacket from the market. And now I show you my sample. So you'll be able to get the pattern on my site of the 3-piece. So that's from the inside. You have the outside here. So same corner as the jacket I show you. And I use a black thread so you could see better the top stitch here. I number also, so if you stop the image, you're going to see the numbers. 1 is the pressing. You have number 2 to assemble facing to the bodice. 3 would be assembling with the lining. 4 is right there, this seam here. And the 5 is hiding under over here. And we'll do number 6 right there. So those are the steps I will be following. These are the pattern piece, so exactly the same side that I show you, the bodice. You have here the facing, this way, facing, aligning the notches, and the lining. So I already cut my piece and I already did my step number 1. Step 1 is do the pressing for the hem of your bodice and the pressing of the lining. So for the next step, I'll be at the sewing machine. Okay, so we start the sample by putting the facing and the bodice face to face and assembling them, matching the notch. So my seam allowance is 1 centimeter. So I'll be assembling all the way at 1 cm, matching the notch. Then you open and understitch on the facing. So that was my 2+ sign on my demo. The understitch is going to force the facing inside. So now that your facing is attached to the bodice, you're going. Okay, so step 3 is to attach the lining with the facing, so face to face. And I'm going to start at the notch or the fold line of the facing, go all the way up. So notches together, sewing at 1. This is your number 3. Now number 4 is going to be to sew the bottom part of the bodice and the facing. So I'm going to fold it and make sure that the seam allowance goes towards the facing. You're going to sew. I'm going to be starting with the loose hand, folding the 1 centimeter seam allowance. Folding the 1 cm and stitch at 1 centimeter. Folding the seam allowance already done towards the facing to make a nice sharp corner. So that was my number 4. We're almost done. Number 5 is to attach the bottom of the lining with the bottom of the garment. So I put these two together, and I'm going to assemble also at 1 centimeter. So it's twisting a bit for now, but it's normal. That's the number 5. That was hiding, you don't see it from my demo. So now it's time to turn it on the good side. So for the corner, I'm going to flip the seam allowance of the bottom the same direction as the seam allowance of the facing. All seam allowance the same corner, you hold it tight and you push it inside. You should have a nice sharp corner, no effort. So you could press your facing at the right place, make sure that the seam is inside, just like you would do for top and under collar. And the last seam we have to do is this little closure, because it's still open. Still open. That's the one I was saying that if you do couture stuff, you would close by hand, but since we're not, we're going to close it by machine, putting your hand between the two layers, hold the corner, and open the fabric so you have it flat to be able to stitch it down on the machine. The opening should be pretty small. On my sample, you have a 2.5, not even 1.5 centimeter open. Little tack, and all the way to the bottom with a little tack. That was your number 6. So just missing a nice pressing, and your corner is done. So this is the one that you see the most often. I'm going to show you now a little easier corner. That one was 6 steps. The next one I'm going to show you is 4 steps. This is my favorite for sure, but sometimes there's no use of working a little harder, so I'll show you the second one. So this one is the second finishing for the bottom of the jacket, the bottom corner that I wanted to show you. The basic one, you have a clean square finish. This one here, you have an angle finish for the hem. So we'll do the first step, the pressing, the number 1, only on the garment itself this time. That's the number 1. 2 is the assembling facing with the bodice. 3 is facing with the lining. And the last one is 4. 4 is going to be the whole bottom seam one shot. So that's about it. I already cut my piece and I did my step 1. This time it's only pressing of the bodice. So I'm going to go on the sewing machine and show you how to do it. For this one, just so you're not confused, I did use exactly the same pattern piece, but I used the other side of the pattern. But it's exactly the same pattern piece, no modification on any of them. So I have my bodice fold. So first step was the pressing, second step is assembling bodice with the facing. So I'm going to assemble bodice to the facing all the way. And open understitch on the facing with the seam allowance. Voila. So next step, so this is 1, 2 plus 3 is attaching the lining with the facing. For the first one, we did stop at the notch. This time you sew all the way down. You don't stop at the notch. So top to the bottom. So we're at 3, 4. You fold just like you did for the last one. You fold exactly at the facing and bodice seam, keeping the seam allowance towards the facing, and you're going to sew. You could keep your seam allowance towards the lining. You're going to sew straight at 1 centimeter until the end of the seam allowance of the facing. So I sew straight until there. Then you lift the foot and you're going to angle the lining to match the corner of the jacket or the neck seam. You do it on a little distance. There's no rule for that. And you're going to keep sewing at 1 centimeter according to the lining length. And you're done. So I call it the easy corner because there's 2 less steps. To turn it, same thing. You push the seam allowance all the same direction. You hold it tight and you push it out. You should have every time a nice sharp corner. So what you have left to do is just give a nice pressing to the lining over here and lining over there, facing and bodice there. So you have the second style. So you do which one you prefer. I think when you wear your garment, if it's finished, nobody really notices. Have a nice day. I hope you enjoy.